So in this video, we're going to go through how to assemble the swivel. Here we have all of our components. We have these pieces, the caps, we have the main body, we have the new shafts. Go ahead and pull these off. Get those out of the way. We have the gland nuts. And in the gland nut, we have an anti-vibration collar, and then we have a left-handed collar here. So this anti-vibration collar, you can see it's got a split in it, and it's chamfered on one end. That chamfered end goes in first. And sometimes these are kind of a tight fit, so what I normally do is I will take it, and I just put it on the bench, and try to press it down in there. If you want, you can take a hammer, get it started, take your collar, finish tapping it down in there. There you go. Now that we have it in there, we'll do the other one. The next thing is we'll take the little bearing caps, and there's a little black O-ring that fits inside of there. That goes down inside the little recess in there. So we just take and push those in there. That seals around the swivel shaft and holds the grease in the cap. We'll install both of those. Set those aside. The next step is we need to assemble the bearings into the bearing cup. And to start this off, in the directions, it tells you to use a moly-based grease. So here's my tube of grease I've had forever. I'm forever dipping down in here at my finger and getting it out. And I've used so much, I got to the point where I couldn't reach it, so I keep cutting the tube shorter and shorter till I run out. But this is just I bought it somewhere in a pinch, but it's a moly-based grease. Not brand specific, but you can find it in a tube, you can find it in a regular grease can. This stuff happens to be darker in color, so that's what I'm using. This is what I've always used, and it seems to work really well. But I'll just put a fair amount in that cap, wipe it in there. Now I'll get the other cap. And again, whatever we don't use that's in this cap will get pushed out, and we'll wipe off the excess at the end. So I just like to pack it in there, give it a good amount to start with, and take that swivel, the shaft, they call it swivel shaft, and press it in there. You can kind of hear the grease will start to push out. And then whatever pushes out, you can just kind of roll it and wipe it back in there. And there you go. Now we'll take a washer, start with the washer. Get a little more grease. Cover that washer completely. Grab a bearing, which I should have got those laid out a little nicer. Okay, grab a bearing, set your bearing on there, cover it with grease, nice good coat of grease. Take another washer, and then press all that together. Just give it a good squeeze. There you go. First one is done. Now we'll take the second one. And when you're done, your stack up should be flush with the top of the bearing cup. And there you go. Now those are both complete. I'll take a moment here to wipe the grease off. And I'll go through and clean these up a little bit. Just mainly right here on the threads. That's about all I do. I don't worry about the rest of it because it helps keep things moving down the road. Okay, so the next step, once we have these assembled, I will set them aside. We'll need to assemble the high pressure O-ring, the red O-ring, and the blue seal. There's a groove on the seal that accepts the O-ring. You just slip it right on there. You do that twice, one for each seal. And the next step, let me zoom in a little bit here. Next are these little hoop seals. These hoop seals, if you can see, on one end, they come to almost a point, and the other end, the other face has a flat. So it's chamfered on the ID, or excuse me, it's tapered on the ID. The blue seal is also tapered. So it's kind of a male-female fit. And when you put it together, you want to see this. You want the edge that comes basically to a point, you want that to be down on the high pressure seal. So I'll slide that one together. I'll get this one ready. And then we will take the bronze backup rings. Those slide on first. Take the other one. Slide that one on. And then now, these are a little difficult to get on. I'll just go ahead and put a little bit of lubricant in there. And this seal's a tight fit. It assembles in this orientation, just like this, and slides on there, and that's how it looks in final assembly. I'll do the same for the other one. Take that one, slide it on there. Be sure that this little hoop seal is in fact centered when you slide it together and it seats fully. I've made the mistake a time or two of that not being centered, and then you kind of get in a hurry and you put it together. Again, my philosophy is do it right the first time, don't have to do it for a long time thereafter. I'll just roll some lubricant on these seals. Oh, UPS is here. Resume. Gets warmed up here. And then I will take these and slide it into the bore. Seat it in there. Same thing with this side. Slide in the bore, seat it in there. And that is assembled. Next, we will take some of our blue lubricant. I don't go crazy on these threads, it just needs a little bit. These don't actually get tight. They just hold things from, they hold this assembly from removing. So we actually don't even torque these to a spec. I just put a thin film on there, just something to prevent any galling. After all, that's all the blue lube is. It's an anti-galling agent.
anytime you thread stainless to stainless, there's a good chance it's going to gall. The material is hard, and you have to put something in there to keep it from galling, some kind of lubrication. In the water jet industry, they use a blue lubricant or blue goop. So now we will take the caps, slide them on, thread it. I always thread it all the way on and lock it down till it bottoms out. And I push pretty tight, and then I'll back it off with enough room just so I can get this one started and do the same. Thread it on. Let's back this out of here. Thread it on. Get that one tight. So if you'll notice, we've got to get these tabs lined up. And in the procedure, there's actually a, boy, I got tight. There's a spec. Like these line up right here. But if I back this one off, that one lines up there, but it doesn't go any farther. So see, it comes over and it pretty much stops there. And same with this one. It pretty much stops just past. It'll stop just past where it bolts up. That is too tight. You actually want to assemble these in the loose state. If they're too tight, that bronze ring will get stuck. It actually will become jammed into the swivel body, and you'll have to drill it out. So on one like this, what I would do, because that's way too tight, I would back this off an entire revolution. So here's tight. I would back it off one revolution. Same thing with this one. Tight, back it off one revolution. Let me do that again. So what I would do, if this one is tight, like it won't go any further, I'm going to back it off one revolution. Tighten it a little bit. And same with this one. If it's tight right there, I'm going to back it off one revolution, bring these two to line up. It'll be just like that. Now, there is a spec on this gap right here. And I believe the spec is 80 thousandths to 135 thousandths. So let's measure that. It's measuring 125. Same with that one, 122, 123. So these are within spec. Sometimes when you assemble them, they'll be on the lower end of the spec, closer to 85 thousandths, closer to 90 thousandths. All of that is very acceptable. Next step is we will always put a little bit of blue lube on the left-hand threads here before I run the collars on. Spread that out. And make sure that inside of here, there's an anti-vibration collar. You can see that little split collar down in there. Make sure you have that installed. Slide the gland nut on. Attach the left-handed collar. My rule of thumb, 3 threads exposed. This one's going to be a little on the tight side because of the gap we have here, but that's okay. And there you go. And then once you go to the machine, you will take and assemble this. This one's being shipped out to a customer, so I'll just put that nut on there to hold it tight. So there you go. Now you have a rebuilt swivel assembly for an 87K application. 1/4-inch swivel assembly. That's all we have for today. Thanks for watching.